Here is Scott Gellatly with Gamblin Artist Colors. Scott, what are you doing?
Well, I thought I'd demonstrate just how paint was originally made by hand and then kind of show off some of the equipment here at the Gamblin factory to kind of draw a link between how oil paint is made by hand versus how we do it on the production floor here using more modern equipment.
Great.
This is ultramarine blue. I think one of the very useful blues in an oil painter's palette. One of the most beautiful blues in dry pigment form. And what I'm going to do here is just mix a little bit of refined linseed oil into it. This is essentially about as simple as a recipe as paint gets. The mixture of dry pigment and linseed oil. Essentially what I'm doing first is just mixing the linseed oil and pigment together with a palette knife. You can see how dense this paste is in this form. Certainly more dense and stiff than any oil painter would want to paint with it. This is really kind of the first step of making oil paint, is just getting it into a dense paste like this. At this point, I want to spread it out here on the mixing slab. And then we're going to use a molar here. And in this step, what we're doing is basically breaking apart all of those conglomerates of pigments. And this is what is breaking and loosening up that dense paste into a more workable, smooth, buttery consistency that's in more brushable form. This is closer to the consistency of ultramarine blue that we would expect to get out of a tube of an oil color. Nice dense pigment load, soft enough to apply with a bristle brush without modification, but stiff enough to form a nice crisp impasto. So that's how oil colors were traditionally made. Basically a real simple mixture, two-step process, mixing pigment and oil with a palette knife, and then using the hand molar to break apart those conglomerates of pigments and make it into a workable paste. On a larger scale, we make our paint in 500 unit batches. That's equivalent to 537 ml tubes. And the mixers that you see here basically replicate the mixing of pigment and oil that I just did with a palette knife. And we'll see in a second the 3-roll mill, which mimics the breaking apart of those conglomerates of pigments that I did with the hand molar. So this is a 3-roll mill. It's a common piece of machinery in the manufacturing of dense, thick paste, like an artist oil color. And this is what really breaks apart all the conglomerates of pigments, turns that really kind of loose mixture of a pigment and oil into a rich, buttery oil color. And it breaks apart all the conglomerates of pigments, and it ensures that every particle of pigment is coated with that linseed oil binder. That's what gives us a really kind of rich, consistent oil color that we know and love as painters.